Jacob stood at the edge of the auction pen, his heart pounding as he gazed at the frail horse no one wanted. Its ribs jutted out like broken piano keys, and its eyes held a sorrow Jacob couldn't ignore. To the others, it was just a weak, worthless animal. But to Jacob, it was a chance to prove everyone wrong, to give this creature the love and care it had never known. He didn't know it then, but this broken horse would change his life forever. Welcome to Animal Story Unleashed. Every week, we bring you powerful and uplifting tales of the unique connection between humans and animals. These stories will touch your heart, inspire your soul, and remind you of the extraordinary bond we share with the animal kingdom. If you love animals and enjoy compelling storytelling, don't forget to like this video, share it with friends, and subscribe for more unforgettable journeys. Let's dive into today's story. You won't want to miss it. Jake's hands clenched the little wad of savings he had brought along, his heart pounding with excitement and trepidation. At just 10 years old, he had never been to an auction before, let alone thought about buying a horse. But today was different. Today, Jake was determined to fulfill a dream. The local auction grounds were bustling with activity. Farmers and ranchers inspected livestock, their voices blending into a chaotic symphony of bartering and laughter. Jake's eyes darted around the arena, scanning for the one horse that had caught his attention. A horse he'd heard about from a neighbor, rumored to be frail, almost unwanted. When the auctioneer's hammer struck down on another sale, Jake felt the anticipation build. Then came the moment. The frail, sickly horse was led into the ring. The animal's dull coat and unsteady gait drew murmurs of disappointment from the crowd. "Who'd want a horse like that?" someone whispered, their voice dripping with disdain. But Jake saw something others couldn't, a spark of life in the horse's tired eyes. He didn't know why, but he felt an instant connection. As the bidding started low, Jake's small hand shot up, surprising the crowd and drawing chuckles. "What's a kid going to do with a horse like that?" someone teased. Ignoring the stares and whispers, Jake stood tall, his voice firm as he raised his bid. And just like that, with his modest savings, he became the proud owner of the most overlooked horse at the auction. When the auction ended, Jake approached the horse. He reached out tentatively, feeling the creature tremble under his touch. "I'll take care of you," he whispered, as if making a vow. He named the horse Thunder, a name that seemed ironic now but would prove fitting later. As Jake led Thunder home, the townsfolk shook their heads, doubting the boy's choice. But Jake wasn't discouraged. Deep down, he believed Thunder was meant for something greater. Little did he know, their journey together would change both their lives forever. As Jake led Thunder to the small paddock behind his family's barn, the frail horse stumbled, almost collapsing from exhaustion. Jake's heart sank, but he steadied Thunder, whispering, "It's okay, boy. We'll get you back on your feet." The next few days were challenging. Thunder refused to eat, barely moved, and seemed to have given up. Jake spent every spare moment sitting by the paddock, reading aloud or just talking to the horse. "You remind me of Dad," he said softly one evening. He never gave up, no matter how tough things got. Jake's determination didn't waver. He began researching everything he could about nursing a weak horse back to health. With the help of old books and advice from a kind neighbor, Mr. Carter, he prepared a special diet for Thunder, combining oats, carrots, and herbs known for their restorative properties. The first breakthrough came on the 5th day. As Jake approached the paddock, with a bucket of food, Thunder took a hesitant step toward him. Jake froze, heart pounding, as the horse nibbled cautiously from the bucket. "That's it, Thunder. You can trust me," Jake murmured, his voice filled with hope. From that moment, the bond between boy and horse began to grow. Each day, Jake introduced gentle routines, brushing, feeding, and walking Thunder. slowly bringing the once broken animal back to life. Thunder's coat gleamed under Jake's careful grooming as he spoke in soothing tones, leading the horse on short walks around the property. Slowly but surely, Thunder's strength began to return. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low in the sky, Jake decided to try something new. He brought out an old saddle that had once belonged to his father. "I'm not going to ride you yet, buddy," he said, stroking Thunder's neck. "Just getting you used to the idea." To his surprise, Thunder didn't flinch as Jake placed the saddle on his back. For the first time, Jake felt a flicker of hope that this horse, once deemed unworthy, might have the spirit of a champion. But not everyone shared Jake's optimism. At the local feed store, he overheard townsfolk chuckling. "That boy is wasting his time. That horse will never be anything more than a pasture ornament," one man scoffed. Jake clenched his fists, but said nothing. He didn't need their approval. Deep down, he knew Thunder was special, and he was determined to prove it, no matter what it took. The weeks turned into months, and Thunder was slowly but surely transforming. His coat, once dull and matted, began to shine under the sunlight. His movements, initially sluggish and hesitant, became more confident and fluid. But it wasn't just his physical transformation that amazed Jake. It was the bond they were forming. Every morning, Jake would wake up before the sun, sneaking out of the house with a bag of oats and a carrot. "Morning, buddy," he'd say softly as he approached the paddock. Thunder would whinny in response, his ears perking up at the sight of Jake. The boy had learned how to read Thunder's emotions, noticing the subtle flick of his tail or the tilt of his head that spoke louder than words. Jake decided it was time to introduce Thunder to the open field. With a saddle strapped on and a soft lead rope in hand, he guided Thunder out of the paddock. The wide expanse of their family ranch stretched before them, and Jake felt a surge of pride as Thunder stood tall, his muscles rippling under his sleek coat. "All right, let's see what you've got," Jake murmured, giving Thunder a gentle pat. He clicked his tongue, and the stallion began to trot. At first, Thunder moved cautiously, but as the cool morning breeze swept through the grass, something awakened in him. He broke into a canter, his powerful legs kicking up dirt as he raced across the field. Jake stood in awe, watching Thunder's raw strength and beauty. It wasn't all smooth sailing, though. One afternoon, while practicing groundwork, Thunder suddenly reared back, his nostrils flaring and his eyes wide with fear. Jake's heart raced as he held onto the lead rope, trying to calm the horse. "Easy, boy, easy," he whispered, stepping closer. But Thunder's fear was palpable, and it took Jake nearly an hour to settle him down. Later that evening, Jake sat by the paddock, replaying the incident in his mind. "What spooked you, Thunder?" he wondered, aloud. It wasn't until he remembered something his father used to say. A horse doesn't just fear what's in front of them. They fear what's inside them, too. That Jake began to understand. Thunder's past, whatever it was, still haunted him. Jake decided to change his approach. He spent more time just being with Thunder, sitting silently by his side or brushing him with slow, deliberate strokes. He also began using his father's old training techniques, which emphasized trust and mutual respect over dominance. One evening, as the sky turned shades of orange and pink, Jake decided to try riding Thunder for the first time. He approached the horse with the saddle in hand, speaking in a calm, reassuring tone. "This is it, buddy. We're going to take this one step at a time," he said. To his amazement, Thunder stood still as Jake mounted him. The boy felt a mix of exhilaration and nervousness as he settled into the saddle. "Let's take it slow," he murmured, nudging Thunder gently. The horse responded with a steady walk, and soon they were moving in harmony, boy and horse becoming one. But as they returned to the barn, something unexpected happened. Jake noticed a shadowy figure standing by the fence. It was Mr. Carter, the neighbor who had helped him nurse Thunder back to health. The older man tipped his hat, a rare smile on his weathered face. "You've done something special, Jake," he said. "That horse. He's not just healed, he's alive again. And so are you." Jake felt a lump in his throat as he dismounted, leading Thunder back to the paddock. "Thanks, Mr. Carter," he said, his voice barely above a whisper, as he watched Thunder settle into the paddock. Jake realized that their journey was far from over. Thunder's transformation wasn't just about strength or speed, it was about trust, resilience, and the unbreakable bond they had formed. But just as things seemed to be falling into place, a twist was about to change everything. Everything was about to change. Just as Jake and Thunder seemed to be thriving, life threw an unexpected curveball. One bright Saturday morning, a group of strangers arrived at the ranch in a shiny black truck. They wore polished boots and wide-brimmed hats, and their leader, a tall man with a commanding presence, introduced himself as Mr. Harper, a representative from a prestigious regional horse competition. "We've heard about your horse," Mr. Harper said, eyeing Thunder as he grazed peacefully in the paddock. "He's a marvel, truly, and we're here to offer you a chance to showcase him at the county's annual equestrian fair." Jake's eyes widened in disbelief. The county fair was no small event. It was where the best of the best competed. But before Jake could respond, his mother stepped forward. "We appreciate the offer, but Thunder isn't a show horse," she said firmly. "He's part of this family now." Mr. Harper smiled, though his tone turned sharper. "That's a shame," he said. "A horse like that deserves recognition. But if you change your mind, you know where to find us." With that, the group left, leaving an air of unease behind them. Jake couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The fire over the next few days, he noticed strange tire tracks near the ranch, and Thunder seemed restless, often pacing the paddock at night. Then, one evening, disaster struck. Jake was jolted awake by the sound of frantic whinnies and the acrid smell of smoke. He rushed outside to find the paddock ablaze, flames licking the wooden posts, thick black smoke filling the air. Thunder was trapped inside, rearing and kicking in panic. "Thunder!" Jake shouted, his heart pounding. He didn't hesitate. Grabbing a wet blanket, he sprinted toward the paddock, ignoring his mother's desperate cries to stay back. The heat was unbearable, but Jake's focus was unshakable. "Easy, boy! I'm here!" he yelled, throwing the blanket over Thunder's back. The horse, recognizing Jake's voice, stopped thrashing for just a moment. It was enough. Jake unbolted the gate and led Thunder to safety. By the time the fire was extinguished, the paddock was a smoldering ruin. Jake collapsed on the ground, coughing and shaking. Thunder nuzzled him gently. It was then that Jake spotted something glinting in the ashes, a silver lighter. "This wasn't an accident," he muttered, his hands trembling as he picked it up. The next morning, the sheriff arrived to investigate, but the evidence was scarce. Jake's suspicions immediately turned to Mr. Harper and his group, but without proof, there was little the authorities could do. Determined to protect Thunder, Jake began devising a plan. He rebuilt the paddock with reinforced materials, installed motion sensor lights, and even set up a camera to monitor the area. But as much as he tried to reassure himself, the fear lingered. Despite the setback, Jake knew he couldn't let fear dictate their lives. He continued working with Thunder, their bond stronger than ever after the fire. And as the weeks passed, something incredible began to happen. Thunder, once hesitant and wary, started to exhibit behaviors Jake had only seen in the most skilled and disciplined horses. The making of a champion Thunder responded to subtle cues, performed intricate maneuvers, and displayed an uncanny intelligence that left even Jake's mother in awe. One evening, as Jake practiced with Thunder in the newly rebuilt paddock, Mr. Carter stopped by again. "That horse isn't just special," he said, leaning against the fence. "He's extraordinary. And so are you, Jake. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." Jake nodded, a newfound determination shining in his eyes. He realized that Thunder's transformation wasn't just about proving something to the world. It was about proving something to himself. But little did Jake know, the fire was just the beginning. The true test of their bond and resilience was yet to come. An offer resurfaced. Months passed, and life at the ranch began to return to normal. Thunder thrived under Jake's care, becoming the picture of health and strength. The pair continued training, their bond now unbreakable. Jake's reputation as a horse whisperer spread beyond the town, drawing visitors eager to witness the boy and his extraordinary stallion. One afternoon, while practicing in the paddock, a familiar black truck pulled up to the ranch. Mr. Harper stepped out, flanked by 2 associates. This time his demeanor was less polished and more urgent. "We have a proposition," Harper began, his tone attempting to mask his desperation. "The regional horse competition is in 2 weeks. Thunder could be the star of the show. We'll sponsor you, cover all the expenses. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity." Jake's mother stepped forward, wary, but willing to hear him out. "And what's in it for you?" she asked, crossing her arms. Harper hesitated before admitting, "Our organization's reputation has been tarnished recently. A win with Thunder would help restore it." Jake looked at Thunder, who stood tall and proud. He knew Harper's interest wasn't genuine, but he also saw a chance to prove what Thunder was capable of. Not for Harper, but for everyone who had doubted them. "We'll do it," Jake said firmly, surprising everyone, including his mother. The 4. Competition. The next 2 weeks were grueling. Jake and Thunder trained tirelessly, perfecting every maneuver. On the day of the competition, the stadium buzzed with excitement. Riders and their horses performed dazzling displays of skill, but when Jake and Thunder entered the arena, the crowd fell silent. The announcer's voice boomed over the speakers. And now, a local boy and his once-forgotten horse, ready to show us the meaning of perseverance. Jake took a deep breath, gave Thunder a reassuring pat, and whispered, "Let's show them who we are." Thunder moved like poetry in motion. Each step, each leap was flawless. The crowd erupted into cheers as the duo performed their final move, daring, synchronized jump over a towering obstacle. When they landed, the applause was deafening. As the judges tallied the scores, Harper approached Jake. His earlier arrogance was replaced by humility. "You've got something special, kid," he admitted. "I was wrong to doubt you." The results were announced. Jake and Thunder had won. Not just their category, but the hearts of everyone in attendance. A legacy begins. The trophy they received was grand, but it wasn't what mattered most to Jake. That evening, back at the ranch, he reflected on their journey. Thunder wasn't just a horse. He was a symbol of resilience, trust, and the belief that even the most overlooked could achieve greatness. But the story didn't end there. News of their victory spread, inspiring countless others to take chances on the seemingly impossible. Visitors flocked to the ranch, eager to meet the boy and his extraordinary horse. Jake began sharing his experiences, teaching others about the power of patience and compassion. Years later, as Jake stood by the paddock watching Thunder graze in, the golden light of the setting sun, he smiled. Their bond had not only changed their own lives, but had also touched the lives of many others. And in that moment, Jake knew his father would have been proud.